Hey everyone, I hope you enjoy my these things are starting to look very similar to each other because nationally the prediction is rack. The IPM can be part of a rack in the data center to network the Ethernet or Wi-Fi. Mathinally, the condition of the profound can be unsquared into each division. Because when you unsquare each division, you are extracting into each point of investment to either confess the timeshare and to well done the amount of sum. In that needed, you can compare your time to share each point of investment into a holding program. The holding program means undigi. Undigi means the element of design has been given to a conclusion of your attribute to mature the age. When you mature the age, you can confine the element of design to need a protocol and to mark up a certain amount of the destruction. When you do that, the correspondence can be marking itself into each way square. When it marks itself into each way, the fundamental of life is based upon your assumption. Yes. When you assume that one day you will off element the death penalty. When you off element the death penalties, you cannot equalize the non-controller. Oh no. Because the uneven amount of confinement of life is based on your time code to export a certain production. When you export a certain production, you are uneven to string the algebra. When you are uneven to string the algebra, you have been born to become a vegetable. Become a vegetable. $1 million baby. She became a vegetable. Well, it's got nothing to do with me, because if you were born like that, with disability and everything, it's got nothing to do with me, and I'm sure it's got nothing to do with anyone. It's just a missing cell or whatever in the egg and the sperm, that's all. I'm not gonna tell you a story about those things, but anyway, sooner or later you will realize what disability is and the death penalty. But sometimes I don't write disability and death penalty. It depends on my research. But also, the fundamental of life is based upon your confinement of nature to reverse into democracy and to implement the arsehole. The needed also means the deferment of game has been non-controlling the amount of data rate to convert into the time code and to export into a certain degree of fraction. The time code has been time sharing into 你好吗 means, wait a minute, 你好吗 how are you? 你好吗 is Chinese. How are you? Once upon a time, once you have a life cycle, you can export into a certain amount of degree to mode off. To mode off the confinement of life. Once you can comply with the material, you are deturning the manuscript into the proclue, not claw or clue, proclue. Oops, next time. But anyway, once you can't mature the age, you have been confessing into the time sharing to export a certain amount of degree. Once you export a certain amount of degree, you are time coding into a telegram to fund the game. When you fund the game, how much money are you making for Xbox, PS, etc.? The version, done, skip, done, skip. Okay, here's a simple one, skip. An Australian slang, skip. You're a skip, means you're an Aussie. And you're a skip. A kangaroo, the animal, and you're a skip. You're skipping. This is not needed. But anyway, changing. Changing the time sharing, you can tell more into each point of investment into unpredictable manner. The unpredictable manner means once you reverse yourself into a division of the array to point yourself into HBC. When you point yourself into HBC, you are rotating into a gram. When you are rotating into a gram, you have been reminding yourself into each importancy. The importancy is once you die, so will I. Yes, once you die, who will run around to do the next economy? To keep things simple, to be an economist, you have to study economy from the old histogram. Past, current, present, future. Past, current, present, future. Within yourself, you cannot de-string the time sharing to import a certain amount of degree. Before and after, the element of design has been borning. Yes, borning into the polyester. Yes. Once you can share your time code, you have been degrading into psych. The meaning of psych is the capacity of your mind power. Yes. To uneven the amount of money. This is easy, isn't it? Do you have, without me saying anything, do you have any Please give me some. What's this? Easy, isn't it? Completing the task, it's very hard for me to synchronize the scenario. When I synchronize the scenario, I will off-tune the element of nature to convert into a murderer. When I convert into a murderer, I myself need to understand the criminal law. Criminal law. Without implementing the scenario to case study the alignment of time and to confess into a off tune. When I confess into the off tune, I need to timeshare myself into the design way of a violin. It's a musical instrument. Murder. Look, I know there are murderers and I've got nothing to do with that. But sooner or later you'll find out what murder means when I write stuff. No, I'm not going to simplify that for you because you're not going to understand the to keep things simple, when you were an embryo, you don't have a voice, but it was getting developed, etc. That is from Monina, the goddess of the history. She, yes, was a maker of stream egg. Stream egg. Yes, she was. The conclusion of the division has been boning itself into a certain amount of service to convert itself into an infrastructure and to degrade the element of nature and to unshare the amount of conferment of life based upon death becomes her. The element of design has been porting into an uneven amount of changing capacity. Changing capacity. The capacity of a change means simple. This is just a normal graph based on the ICSO. The ICSO is part of data rating. To unshare the amount of 2568 reminder. Converse 5325 store. Dictation 55 59 4 6 sin. Tossing. Oh no, that's not available yet. Dictation. Selector 7534. Audio. The uneven amount of money can unshare itself into each service fee to point into each point of investment and to uninclude the ordering of detention from the hologram. In that mode, it has been de-learning itself into the prism. When it does that, it murder Sini. It's an old color system by RGB. Mathematically, the prediction can be pointed into each point of investment to unshare the amount of life based on the assumed, no. Based on the conclusion, no. Based on the death becomes her, part of. The element of design has been reborning into the condition of method to understand the procure mathematically and Singtel. Once again, ooh, it's not ready yet, Singtel. Sorry. I know I gotta do a lot of things, and I gotta do drafts and draw things and do research for resources and give you an explanation about things, because I cannot give you the outcome. But it's normal though, isn't it? It's normal because being a scientist, mathematic, art director, etc., a movie director, you can't rush into it because you have to somehow match things, and then later on you have a beautiful story, etc. You have the final outcome. Now, I already started to paragram, yes, the whiteboard and these mats already started. So when I go to the city, I will do some research, and then when I come back, this hasn't changed because I gotta find things out mathematically to understand the conclusion, no, to understand what these mats are. And also it will help you to income, yes. It will also help you to income the weekly wage, no. It will, shit. Pause, leave that.